Good evening, everybody. You are watching World War Live. I'm your host, Conrad Franz, here on a Wednesday evening. I know it's usually Tuesday evening, but it's Wednesday evening. And frankly, maybe it should always be Wednesday evening. If you are a Wednesday evening patriot, please let me know if this would be better. Tuesday evenings have been okay, but there are so many people that go live Tuesday evenings, whether it's Father Peter Hears or Cleave to Antiquity, whose stream I ran on last week, and many others. So let me know in the comments of this video or the live chat, wherever you may be watching this, if Wednesday is better than Tuesday. But I want to thank everybody for tuning in. We've already got some super chats, so thank you all very much. Like the stream if you're watching, wherever you're watching, Substack, YouTube, X. Like the stream. It really helps us out. Share the stream, retweet it, send the link wherever it may be going. Restack, obviously, if that's even possible. I don't know if they have that option right now for the stream, but do whatever you can. We've got some super chats. So if you're on the YouTube, send in a super chat if you want a question to ask. It seems like some people are liking Wednesdays, so maybe the stream will be moving to Wednesday evenings. The only problem is I'll have to go back and change all of the old posts that say Tuesday, but that shouldn't take too long. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in. We've already got some super chatters, so be sure to super chat if you want to support the show. Obviously, everybody already knows the drill, but for anybody that hasn't already been watching, be sure to check us out at worldwarnow.co, our home base. Check out all of the latest content. The new Ether Hour episode will be out tomorrow. It's another interview with the beloved Andrei Afanasiev, our good friend, my Donbass guide and host, who took me down to the Donbass for the first time. So it'll be good to have him back on. Of course, do not miss our episode with Levan Vasadze, all about Georgian monarchism, the history of Georgia, St. Gabriel, Ergabadze, the future of a potential Georgian monarchist revival, all about Patriarch Ilya and his saintly reign of the over the Georgian Orthodox Church. So be sure to check all of that out. It will be linked down below. If you check out worldwarnow.co, you will be greeted with this beautiful episode. So get behind the paywall, support the show, and obviously you will then be able to watch all of this. But be sure to also visit the Buy Me a Coffee if you want to donate directly to us outside of the super chats or outside of the World War Now Substack. Be sure to check out the Buy Me a Coffee. It is also should be linked down below. World War Now. It should buymeacoffee.com/World War Now. We've got eWar mapping in chat. Jonathan Kelly, Paisios, Rasputin Archive. Great to see everybody. Really good to see everybody here in the chat this evening. A lot of stuff going on, of course. Big news with Iran. They are apparently cranking the Gerald R. Ford, the largest aircraft carrier in the United States Navy, has already entering the Mediterranean Sea. It's clearly moving at full speed to get as quickly as possible to the CENTCOM area of operations so that strikes can be conducted as soon as possible, because it seems that a plan has already been written up. The claim is that Trump hasn't already decided, but my contention has been that this plan has been in the work for a very long time. So we're going to dive into that. But visit the Buy Me a Coffee if you want to donate to the show. Visit the Substack, worldwarnow.co. Check out the latest Ether Hour episode. Check out the latest World War Now episode. It's a really good piece of analysis. Of course, once you get behind the paywall, you get access to all sorts of incredible content. Our interview with Levan, our interview with Dr. Matthew Raphael Johnson, our interview with George, our interviews with David Erhan, so many other incredible pieces of content. So be sure to check all of that out. Subscribe to the YouTube, and if you haven't already, be sure to follow us on X and anywhere else. So good to see everybody here in the chat. That's true. Wednesdays are problematic during Great Lent because there will be the pre-sanctified liturgies starting next week. So if it is during Wednesdays, it might have to be a later time in the evening. So I'll be working all of this out. There's never a perfect time. So I don't know, maybe Thursdays, Tuesdays again, who knows? We'll see what happens. But right now it's Wednesday, and there's it's cheese fair week. So I hope everybody is enjoying their cheeses and other dairy products before cheese fair. So ready for Lent, I think it's time to lock in. I'm really, looking forward to it. At least that's what I'm supposed to say, right? So here we go. But obviously things are getting crazy in the Middle East with World War III. So be sure to check out the latest Ether Hour content. Obviously, it's really, really good stuff. So get myself back to full screen here. $20 from Jonathan Kelly toward the Epstein USA Quarter Zip Fund. I think the Epstein USA Quarter Zips are hilarious, but I feel like if I bought one and wore it, a bunch of the, certain characters and certain audience members might not appreciate that. So that's why we don't, we don't tempt fate here. We exclusively wear World War Now merch on the on the show, at least as much as we can. That or Gabriel DeRochen merch or related products. But another $5 from Jonathan Kelly. Keep it cheesy. We cheesing out here. We are doing it. We are consuming our lactose. We are consuming our milks. We are, none of this, no lentils, no rice, no beans. We're just cheese and eggs and such. So this is it. That's a good question. Someone's asking, where can I get World War Now merch? And the answer is technically nowhere. So I need to really get on that, because I've got all sorts of different ones that I wear all the time here, but I need to get on that. I'm leaving money on the table, and I'm not outfitting the World War Now patriots, the people. So that is something I need to get on. That is for sure. But of course, if y'all have been following the World War Now Telegram, oh great, I'm out of focus. There we go. If y'all have been following the World War Now Telegram, you've seen the latest World War III updates. Someone asking about a World War Now quarter zip. That's a good question. That should come. I do have the World War Now Carhartt sweatshirt everybody has seen. We've got the World War Now hoodies, the World War Now sweatshirts, and other such items. So stay on the lookout for all of that. But thank you, Jonathan, for the $25 so far. Good start to the stream. But this is from Anti-War. Sort of sums up everything that I've been covering on the Telegram and what I've been reading all throughout the day, keeping up with everything. It says here, Trump close to a major attack on Iran that will be bigger than 12-day war. The Trump administration is close to launching a major attack on Iran as it continues a massive buildup of military forces in the Middle East, according to a report from Axios reporter Barak Ravid. And Barak Ravid is deeply embedded in the Israeli military media establishment. So take that for what it is. Sources told Ravid that the potential U.S. attack on Iran would likely be a massive multi-week operation, much bigger than the U.S. operation to abduct Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. They said it would also be much broader in scope than the 12-day U.S.-Israeli war on Iran that was launched in June 2025. Reuters also recently reported that the U.S. was preparing for a sustained multi-week attack on Iran. Israeli officials said that the Israeli government, which is pushing for the U.S. to pursue regime change in Iran, is preparing for the possibility of the attack starting in the coming days, while other sources put the timeline a little later, saying the war would likely start in a few weeks. The boss is getting fed up, a Trump advisor told Ravid. Some people around him warned him against going to war with Iran, but I think there is 90% chance we see kinetic action in the next few weeks. The Axios report noted that there had been little public debate about the potential war amid the major U.S. military buildup, and said that Americans will likely be surprised by the scale of the coming attack. All signs indicate that if the U.S. bombs Iran, Tehran will not hold back in its response and could target multiple U.S. bases and warships in the region, leaving open the possibility that the war could result in hundreds or thousands of U.S. casualties. The conflict could also have a major impact on the global economy, as Iran could close the Strait of Hormuz, through which 31% of seaborne crude oil shipments passed in 2025. The U.S. and Iran held talks on Tuesday, and while the Iranian side said there was a clear path toward a deal, U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance said that Iran was not acknowledging President Trump's red lines. Vance claimed that the main U.S. demand was that Iran must not pursue a nuclear weapon, but for many months the administration had insisted the June 2025 U.S. strikes on Iran obliterated Iran's nuclear facilities, and there's no sign Tehran can enrich uranium at the moment. Iran has also made it clear it's willing to enter a deal that would involve a commitment to low enrichment levels, and Iranian officials maintain they don't seek a nuclear bomb. The real goal of any U.S. attack on Iran will likely be regime change or taking out Iran's ability to fire missiles at Israel. President Trump said back in December that he met with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at his Mar-a-Lago resort in Florida, that he would support another Israeli attack on Iran if the Islamic Republic continued its missile program. And of course, the Iranians have made it clear that their missile program is not up for negotiation or debate. It is a matter of national sovereignty to them, which of course it is for any country. If you aren't able to manufacture weapons at the industrial scale that your country is capable of, if you want, then you're not a sovereign nation. That's a pretty obvious thing here. So we are on the brink. We have been for a minute now, but again, as we discussed in episode 151 of World War Now with Dmitry, the eve of Purim is late February, March 1. That's about when that is. So again, that is a Jewish holiday and commemoration, Old Testament event, the book of Esther, of which the Jews conquer and, win over the Persian people. So literally with the manipulation of a king, so using Trump to go against the Persians. This is how the Jews like to operate. They operate under 1,000-year patterns, like to revisit these things. That's how they treat their enemies. But of course, the main force that is moving is the Gerald Ford. It will be meeting up with the USS Abraham Lincoln, and we're not 100% sure if it will make its way to the Arabian Sea. to link up with the Lincoln, putting it in a more offensive, capacity to launch attacks on Iran, or if it will perhaps be stationed in the Eastern Mediterranean between Cyprus and Israel to protect Israel from attack. We've got $10 here from Jonathan. What is the probability of China using U.S. naval assets being bogged down in the Middle East to seize the opportunity to advance on Taiwan? That's what I've said that they should do. Obviously, China has their own calculus on all of this. I'm not Chinese. I'm not really involved in the Chinese, web sphere and the discourse around this, and what I would not claim to know what public opinion in China says about this. But if China views the fall of Iran as somewhat existential to China, and they understand that reunification with Taiwan is likely, many have said 2027 is the day anyway, is the year anyway that's planned to take place. I'm sure they have the capabilities right now to do that 9-10 months earlier, to help Iran, if that would really succeed in helping the regime not fall. And again, China lost 5% of their crude from Venezuela. They're going to lose another big percent if Iran, the regime there, falls. And they also lose another major land corridor to connect them to other parts to conduct major trade and infrastructure operations. So losing Iran is not good for China. It's certainly not good for the Russians, but unfortunately, I think the Russians have a bit more Israeli influence that they're going to have to deal with. So a lot of different things to consider for sure. But the Gerald Ford, again, is moving in the scale of movement of military deployment right now to the Middle East is unprecedented. It's nothing has been seen like this since the beginning of the Iraq War in 2003, Operation Iraqi Freedom, and all of these made the shock and awe campaigns where we saw the bombs over Baghdad. It will be that level or more, likely more, if these things with Iran really go forward as it seems they are. And again, as much as I recognize that this is all largely a vindication, it would be great if this doesn't happen. It's not like I will be crying if this somehow all doesn't happen and some kind of diplomacy is reached at the last minute. But look, this would be the most expensive bluff in American history if this is not used for some kind of attack. Everybody is talking about it. The Jews, the Israelis, they don't like to be proven wrong on these things, so they wouldn't be speaking this confidently if they really didn't think it was going to take place. And again, billions of dollars are being spent daily at this point on this operation, for the troops, for the equipment, for everything. I mean, so many bombers, so many stealth and recon air vehicles, and just so many different things are being moved. And then certain troops are being moved out, from Syria, from Jordan, from Qatar, these places, so they aren't going to be killed in the inevitable Iranian response. So everyone understands that this is going to be a weeks-long operation, even though that's pretty much the only thing, that time frame is the only thing keeping Trump from operating. He really, really wishes we could do this thing in theory, 12 days or less, and so it wouldn't be as much of a thing as the 12-day war, but that is simply impossible. I guess there's some issues on the X live streaming. If anybody's watching on X, please make yourselves known in the comments, because this is telling me there's something wrong potentially with the X live stream. But it's no worries. We got a lot of people on Substack and YouTube. So thank you all for tuning in. Be sure to check out the Substack worldwarnow.co and send and get behind the paywall there. And if you want to ask a question, get on YouTube and send in a super chat. Jonathan Kelly is our only super chat of this evening, holding it down, as he always does. But the real question is, where are the rest of the World War Now patriots? But we have here now the U.S. aircraft carrier Gerald Ford and its strike group are crossing the Atlantic Ocean and heading toward the Middle East. The Ford left the Caribbean after operating in the waters for several months as part of Operation Southern Spear, the U.S. military operation that has involved airstrikes on alleged drug-running boats in the U.S. attack on Venezuela to kidnap President Nicolas Maduro. The Ford will be the second U.S. aircraft carrier entering U.S. Central Command's area of responsibility, joining the USS Abraham Lincoln. If the Ford is deployed through mid-April, it will break the post-Vietnam 294-day record for U.S. carrier deployments. The U.S. has also positioned additional fighter jets at its bases in the region, moving 50 F-35, F-22, and F-16 jets to the Middle East just over the past 24 hours, according to a U.S. official speaking to Axios. More than 150 U.S. military cargo aircraft have flown to the region since last month, as the U.S. is beefing up its air defenses to prepare for Iranian counterattacks, which could cause significant U.S. casualties if Tehran doesn't hold back in its response. The U.S. has continued its military buildup in the region despite renewed negotiations with Iran, which were held in Geneva on Tuesday. The talks ended without a breakthrough, and while Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi said there was a clear path to a deal, U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance said Tehran wasn't acknowledging President Trump's red lines, which you said earlier. Israel's Channel 12 reported that the White House has given Israel the impression that the talks with Iran have reached an end and that Israeli officials are convinced Trump will launch an attack on the Islamic Republic. The report said that U.S. sought to create the impression that it had exhausted negotiations to legitimize a potential U.S. attack, which is obviously what's happening. Not just to legitimize, but to buy time for the right amount of equipment to get into the region, because a single aircraft carrier is not enough. Iran is not Iraq. It's much more powerful. So this is going to be a full-on war. I mean, once this starts, people can't, I mean, as Metropolitan Neophytos says, the Third World War, they're simply not saying it to us yet. Elder Joseph of Vatopedi said this war will be in 7 phases with major flare-ups and then, periods of peace. So that's really how we have to look at this. And again, we live in a total media panopticon. They're not telling us it's the Third World War because they benefit still from carrying on the Pax Judaica, the post-war order. But we have aircraft carriers deployed all over the place, major brinksmanship going on between America and China. We have the war in Ukraine where hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people have died. We have the genocide in Gaza where hundreds of thousands are dead. And this perpetual back and forth with Iran, and every day people die in the proxy wars with Hezbollah in Gaza, Ansar Allah with the Houthis in Iraq. So World War III is here. And this isn't even including some of the other smaller conflicts in the Balkans, in Asia, between Pakistan, Afghanistan, India, between Thailand and Cambodia, between the Papuans and Indonesia, and these other conflicts, some that we don't even talk about so much on the show. So World War III is here. And once in the next few weeks, when this multiple week sustained operation, as they're calling it, starts, it's World War III, okay? It's, even in World War I and World War II, there were these huge fronts, and there was times of advancement and times of stagnation, especially World War I, obviously. So it's World War III, it's here, and we're about a few weeks away from finally all the normies being forced to admit it as well. So get used to that. The Trump administration has repeatedly shifted its pretext for a potential attack on Iran, and Vance is now claiming that the U.S.'s main red line is that Iran cannot acquire a nuclear weapon. But for months, President Trump has insisted that the June 2025 U.S. strikes on Iran obliterated Iran's nuclear facilities. Blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, same things that we had discussed before. But the Geneva talks, it's clear that, and I guess the latest report from the Geneva talks here is that, let me find the exact report. What did it say? Yes, as here, Iran is expected to submit a written proposal on how to avoid its standoff with the United States in the wake of U.S. and Iran talks in Geneva on Tuesday. That's Reuters quoting U.S. official. But right at the same time as that report came out, President Trump said, and this is from Middle East Spectator, President Trump has discussed a timeline for Iran strikes with his senior advisors, with top national security officials telling the president that the U.S. military would be ready for strikes as early as this Saturday. Trump has not yet made a final decision, and the timeline for any action is likely to extend beyond this weekend. So I wouldn't be a betting man and bet any money on it being this weekend, but it's certainly possible. It's definitely a non-zero. I'd say it's even above a 10% chance that something goes down this weekend. I would wager the weekend after that is probably the most likely. That would be my assumption, if not the first week of March. But again, watching it all very closely. We've said February 2026 for months now on the show, so it would be vindicating for that to come true. But again, Eve of Purim does spill right into early March, so we'll take it, I guess. But this is it's arriving. It's getting crazy, and 12-Day War was crazy. Again, that was still, the images from that are still some of the most striking images of the 21st century, and it's only gonna get crazier than that. So it's true, Lent has begun, Ramadan has begun. All of the Islamic countries have spotted the crescent moon and have started their bastardized version of Lent. Ash Wednesday for all the, I guess if we have any Western Rite listeners, and of course any Catholic, Presbyterian, Anglican, Episcopalian, Methodist listeners, then happy Ash Wednesday. As a Byzantine Maxer myself, I do not participate, but I like to see all the Christians walking around. It's a nice thing to see. But again, also a big thing that people aren't necessarily thinking about, and one of the main, frankly, if this wasn't a thing, the U.S. might be much more willing, I think, to launch this operation, is we have the World Cup coming up this summer. Iran is a participant in the World Cup. The Iranian team will be coming to America to play in the World Cup because they qualified. They have a great team. So if this goes down, and I think even if this occurs in the way the U.S. wants, it might really throw a wrench in those operations. And if it unfolds as we know that it will in the prophetic ways, it's going to get out of the U.S.'s hands and things will escalate quickly. So, I'm not a huge soccer fan. I enjoy the World Cup as much as the next person, but hey, I mean, at this point, I'd wager 50-50 on if the World Cup even goes down the way that it should. Maybe it'll happen in some kind of limited capacity. I'm no expert on how FIFA handles these things, but keep the whole thing in your prayers, obviously, because this is going to be a world disrupting event to the point where this could be what sends the economy, what sends it to go. So be sure to prepare for that, because who knows what else will be affected besides just the World Cup and sports ball and these other sorts of things. But of course, the front in the Israel-Iran war that never had a ceasefire, despite one being signed, is of course the Lebanon front. One more report here from Jason Ditz. The Ancient Ward says Israel continues to carry out strikes against southern Lebanon after killing at least 5 people Sunday night into Monday. The strikes continued against the south and left at least 2 more people killed later on Monday, both involving attacks on vehicles. The first strike targeted a car in the town of Hanin, killing 1 person within. A second strike attacked a van in Talouseh, killing a second person. In both cases, the IDF claims that the slain were Hezbollah members, but offer no evidence to support those allegations. The rate of strikes against Lebanon have been on the rise for months and seem to be escalating even further lately, with Israeli media suggesting the attacks are part of a planned prelude to a war with Iran. In addition to the persistent strikes by the IDF against functioning vehicles, the Israeli government is emphasizing that they do not intend to withdraw from the southern Lebanese territories, even though the November 2024 ceasefire was meant to see them leave by January of 2025. Defense Minister Israel Katz says that the troops will stay in all of the military outposts Israel established in Lebanon outside of the terms of the ceasefire. He insists that Israel imposed that occupation and the U.S. accepted it. Therefore, it is allowed to continue irrespective of the ceasefire terms. Katz is ruling out even considering a withdrawal from those outposts until after the Lebanese government forcibly disarms Hezbollah nationwide. Hezbollah has already been disarmed south of the Litani River as the ceasefire required, but Israel is demanding that include the entire nation, something Hezbollah is resisting. Lebanese officials have suggested finalizing a disarmament north of the river will take at least 4 months, but even that seems extremely optimistic without Hezbollah's cooperation. Hezbollah has repeatedly suggested that the only way they would approach such a possibility is after Israel isn't occupying Lebanese territory and not launching regular attacks on Lebanon. And through Israel's various demands, that's one thing they're not openly considering. So, the Lebanon front Hezbollah has openly said that they will enter the war if Iran is attacked. The Houthis have said they will restart their blockade of the Red Sea and attack Israeli, American, and other ships that will be participating. Of course, the Iraqi militias would be attacking Israel. So Kataib Hezbollah, the Popular Mobilization Forces, the other Shia forces in Shia-majority Iraq would be attacking Israel, would be attacking American bases across the region. So this is... People are saying they can't see the article. It's because I didn't share it on the screen because I'm reading it out loud. But the situation is, I don't think it can get any more. People say brinksmanship. I don't think we can get any more on the brink than this. If the Iranians, the only thing I think at this point that could happen is the Iranians cuck. They cave. They don't want to do it. They pull back all the rhetoric. It was all a lie. All of the regional war stuff they said is a lie. And at this point, I just don't see that happening. I think, look, the Ayatollah survived the 12-day war. Pezeshkian has openly said he's happy to be a martyr. So at this point, I think it's the domino was put into play. And I frankly think that a few weeks into October 7th at the latest, if not really back in the 1980s, this whole plan was drawn up. These strikes, exactly how they were, is how it went down. There's probably someone with a white paper somewhere that knows the time and the date and everything. I wouldn't put it past them. So crazy times that we live in, indeed. Crazy times you live in, indeed. I'm not seeing any more super chats, so feel free to send in a super chat if you want any specific questions or issues answered. Obviously, we're going to be playing some Ethnoguesser here in a second. The only other story I really had to talk about, unless nothing else comes up on the Telegram, of course, the Israelis are about to do another operation, or rather the Syrian forces are about to enter As-Sueda, which ostensibly is a Israeli-supported Druze region in southern Syria. I guess here's some good analysis from Middle East Spectator, which I would agree with this perspective. This is something similar to what Dimitri and I were saying on World War Now episode 151, if you guys want to check that out. But this is analysis from MES. It says, when you look at footage of Operation True Promise 2, which was one of the major Iranian retaliations and strikes against Israel, as opposed to Iran's operations during the 12-day war, it's clear why preemptive strikes are so important. During True Promise 2, Iran had the initiative. We attacked from multiple missile bases that were fully operational. when Israel did not expect it. As a result, at least 50 missiles hit their targets in one wave. Unfortunately, Iran didn't target Tel Aviv, didn't target metropolitan Tel Aviv during the operation. It would have been very effective. Anyway, during the 12-day war, Iranian missile bases were heavily suppressed, which led to a lesser volume of missiles being launched simultaneously, and therefore less hits in each wave due to easier interceptions. In my opinion, it's a waste of missiles to wait for the enemy to attack first. Iran's missiles provide their primary advantage when used in an offensive context, when Iran is the attacker, not the attacked. I would 100% agree with this. Jonathan Kelly, $5. What's your costume for Purim? I'm thinking a Shylock maybe, or there's some kind of other anti-Semitic canard. But what are you guys going as? I don't know if I want to be caught lacking like that during World War III. So, I think we should be in prayer. But that's a good one. Thank you, Jonathan. Real Jonathan Kelly evening. Carrying the show and the stream this evening with the rest of these broke boys not pitching in. But I ultimately agree at a certain level. If you know the attack is coming, and the Iranians will obviously realize, they already are, I think, expecting it any hour at this point. That's the level of readiness that they're at. The only thing they have to do now is just strike first. I think they need to do a strike on Israel. I think this would probably also include strikes on U.S. bases. However, I see the problem with the preemptive strike on the U.S. bases really gives the U.S. even more of a casus belli than they already have. But again, if you already understand that this is going to be a existential battle, existential war, who knows? I mean, the Americans might try, if certain American casualties are taken, maybe they'll try to come back to the table with the Iranians. But again, I think that in the first 2 weeks and month of this operation, it'll spill out to become something that quickly gets out of control, whether that's the Russians being involved, whether that's Turkey somehow getting involved, China getting involved, something happening with China invading Taiwan, something happening in the Balkans, something happening in Europe. I think so many of those things are already possible right now to go off in the tinderbox situation that Eurasia is currently in, that it can't handle a extended war like this. That too many sparks would proverbially fly around the woodshed, and it would just go up in flames. And I think that's what we're about to be living through. But may the Lord rip these words out of my mouth, right? May I be wrong, but I fear I am not. But the other big story that I wanted to cover, I'm just making sure I'm not missing any relevant news here. Obviously, Tucker did go to Israel. He was supposedly questioned by Israeli authorities, but was let out. The State Department, intervened, which I guess makes sense. But the other story I wanted to talk about is not in any way, in many ways, it's very much related. I think they're trying to get this all locked in before World War III is fully launched. But that is, of course, the Warner Bros. Acquisition. And, of course, it appeared that the Netflix acquisition of Warner Bros. Discovery, which would also make it probably one of the largest media conglomerates, is going through. However, it appears that behind the scenes, Trump is backing the Ellisons, Larry Ellison and his son. Of course, Larry Ellison with Oracle, and his son, who operates Paramount Skydance, which is already one of the largest media conglomerates, and they're trying to acquire Warner Brothers Discovery. This here is from Reuters. It says Warner Bros. Discovery on Tuesday rejected Paramount Skydance's latest $30 a share hostile bid, but gave the rival Hollywood studio 7 days to submit a best and final offer to top an existing agreement to sell its businesses, including HBO Max and Harry Potter franchise, to Netflix. So really parsing these things up. Paramount informally broached an even higher per share price of $31, Warner Bros. Said, apparently enticing the board to the table, but its response to Paramount indicates Warner Brothers prefers to deal with Netflix, and the odds of a switch are long. Warner Brothers Discovery shares were up 3.4% at $28.93, while Paramount rose nearly 5%. Netflix shares were largely flat in afternoon trading. Paramount has until February 23rd to make a new offer, which Netflix is allowed to match under the terms of the merger agreement, Warner Brothers said. Our board is not determined that our proposal is reasonably likely to result in a transaction that is superior to the Netflix merger, Warner Brothers chairman Samuel DiPiazza Jr. and CEO David Zaslav said in a letter sent to the Paramount board on Tuesday. We continue to recommend and remain fully committed to our transaction with Netflix. The two media giants have been vying for control of Warner Brothers, its flagship film and TV studios and deep content library, in a contest that highlights the high stakes of a rapidly shifting entertainment landscape. Paramount later on Tuesday acknowledged the 7-day offer, even as it called Warner Brothers board actions unusual. The CBS parent said it would continue to advance the tender offer. And yeah, so obviously Larry Ellison, Paramount Skydance, they own CBS. They're the ones that have put Barry Weiss there and have turned CBS into an Israeli propaganda outlet more than it already was. And look, 7 days, let's say this goes through. Look, if it gets sold to Netflix, it's not that much different. But between CBS and this already, then of course, Larry Ellison and Oracle and this company are also operating TikTok. That has all been fully fleshed out. And so again, if you think about the fact that this Iran war had been planned for years and years in advance, this was part of it. They had to further Jewish media conglomeration. Larry Ellison, the Redstone family, of course, Rupert Murdoch, despite being Goyim, is very much in the pocket of Israel, might even be more pro-Israel than certain Jewish Zionists. So between those three people, you've got the control of most of media in the United States. So when this war goes on, you're not going to be able to turn on the TV and see people talking about what's really going on. You're going to get the Israeli perspective. You're going to get Jewish interests. You're going to get what they want you to see and know about the ongoing Third World War. So you need to be aware of that. That's why you need to stay in, frankly, you need to follow groups like us, stay in touch on the Telegram channels. Because if you're only subscribed to the YouTube, frankly, if you're only subscribed to the Substack even, that's not good enough. You got to subscribe on X. You got to subscribe on YouTube. And you got to, at a certain level at your parish, you need to be making sure that you have networks and connections in place and contingency plans, because there's going to be no truth coming out of the main the stations and the airwaves that most people have access to. So people need to be aware of that, because what we're witnessing right here is very much again, if you thought the country, obviously the internet has allowed for the breaking open of the information space, but things, they're very much trying to lock that back in. TikTok's been reined in, and I think once this war starts, you might see X get reined in, even by the government itself. There might be war powers invoked. Elon Musk might be forced to ban even more anti-Israeli content. So be sure to keep your ears to the ground on that. I'm sure, hopefully everybody is staying in prayer and staying active in their communities, because that's going to be what's the most important. Someone says, how do I get into the World War Now Discord? Well, if you're on the YouTube, it should be down in the link below, and you should be able to click that and go through vetting and get into the description and get into the Discord server, because it's a good place to be. We share a lot of info there. You'll get all the latest updates on content. So be sure to check it out. So get into the Discord server. We love having people in the Discord. I'm active in there pretty much every day. So get in the Discord. Dimitri's active in there as well. So good stuff. Checking out Ortho Christian, making sure I haven't missed any Orthodox news. Doesn't seem like there's any new persecution updates. I guess there's this one here. Of course, we've discussed how the OCU is already violating even their own fake Tomos of autocephaly, which said that they can only operate within the borders of Ukraine. It says here, OCU priest says their encroachment in Poland is coordinated with Constantinople. A cleric of the schismatic Orthodox Church of Ukraine, operating in Warsaw, has claimed that the OCU's presence in Poland was coordinated with Patriarch Bartholomew of Constantinople, while accusing the Polish Orthodox Church of harboring pro-Russian sympathies for refusing to recognize his organization. Sergei Syrenko, who serves as a priest in the OCU in Warsaw, made the statements in an interview with the Ukrainian publication Zerkalo Nedeli, reports the Union of Orthodox Journalists. He acknowledges that the OCU's Tomos formally prohibits it from opening parishes outside Ukraine, but argues that Russia's invasion changed that situation. To work around this restriction, the OCU organized its structures in Poland under the designation of a chaplaincy mission rather than formal parishes. We're not a parish. This is a chaplaincy mission providing spiritual care to OCU faithful abroad. Such missions operate in many Polish cities, as well as in Germany, Austria, the Czech Republic, the Baltic states, and elsewhere. But the greatest number of missions is operating specifically in Poland, Syrenko says. He claims that the OCU's presence in Poland, as in other countries, had been coordinated with the Ecumenical Patriarch, and states that the missions would remain even after the end of hostilities in Ukraine, since part of the OCU faithful will stay abroad permanently. He suggests that if the Polish Orthodox Church were to recognize the OCU, the missions could simply be transferred to it as regular parishes, but indicated that if the Polish Church continues withholding recognition, the OCU will maintain its own structures for its adherents regardless. Just a big old expanding schism. Syrenko also levels sharp criticism at the Polish Church, accusing most of its clergy of holding pro-Russian views and preaching the Russian world ideology. The Polish Orthodox Church hasn't recognized the OCU and doesn't consider its clerical ordinations valid, a position shared by the majority of the Orthodox world. His Beatitude Metropolitan Sawa of Warsaw and all Poland has lodged formal complaints with Patriarch Bartholomew on multiple occasions over the OCU's activities on Polish canonical activity, most recently in November 2025. The current wave of OCU activity in Poland began on July 27th when OCU hierarch Hilarion of Rivne and Ostro and OCU clergy served in Warsaw without Metropolitan Sawa's blessing. Regular chaplaincy services have continued there since. A similar incident occurred in January 2022 when formerly canonical Bishop Alexander Drabinko, who had joined the OCU, served in Poland, prompting Polish hierarchs to protest Constantinople at this time as well. Despite repeated appeals from the Polish Church and broader calls for a pan-Orthodox council to address the status of the OCU, Constantinople hasn't taken action to resolve the canonical disputes. The OCU has similarly encroached upon the territory of other local churches, including the Serbian Orthodox Church and the Orthodox Church of the Czech lands and Slovakia. It is true, the Czech lands of Slovakia, Patriarch Bartholomew recognizes an entirely different metropolitan over that autocephalous church, of which they probably dispute Czech Slovak autocephaly altogether because it was also granted from, I believe, the Russian Orthodox Church. So the EP continues to be a sower of schism and division across the Orthodox world. Very, very disappointing, but not seeing any more super chats. So if anybody has anything you want me to discuss, even if it doesn't have anything to do with what we're talking about tonight, feel free to send in a super chat and I will be forced to yap about it. But with none of those happening, hopefully some come in here, it is time to play Ethnoguesser. You all already know what it is. Let's see. Didn't do as well last week as we did the previous 2 weeks. I believe last week we were in the top 14%, whereas in the previous 2 weeks we were in the top 8 and 9%, respectively. So let's go. We got to be top 10% again. Let's try to go for under 8%, top 7%. That's really, I think, what we're trying to do here. So lock in, everybody. Get your thinking caps on. Get your skull measuring devices out, your phenotype analyzers, and let's do this thing. People are talking about Poland in the chat. What are people saying? Poland seems to be a theological battleground through all the ages. I would agree. Oh, we're in Africa. But what part of Africa? This could be anywhere, man. This is just like an African guy. Just like ba-bing, maybe like ba-bing, or maybe like down here. I don't know. Chat, what are we working with here? What are we working with here, chat? Congo. I'm feeling some Congo vibes as well. People are saying Nigeria. I don't know. I'll go closer to Nigeria, but I think Congo still makes more sense. Congo, or maybe the actual Republic of Congo, as opposed to the DRC, which is, I believe, Kinshasa is the largest city in Africa now. So crazy. Yes, that is a German man. All right, I'm locking in Congo here. Let's see. Oh, it's almost always here, man. It's all these people come from freaking Sudan. Shilukid. Niloted variety similar to the Dinkade, but with slightly modified features, typically found in the savannas of the Upper Nile of South Sudan. Extends to western Ethiopia. Most common in Shilluk, but also in Anwak, more mixed in other Nilotic people. Everyone say Nigeria. I knew it wasn't that. At least if I had gone over here, I would have gotten more points too. So watch it, chat. Don't be screwing me over like that. All right. I think I've gotten these people before. I think this is, yeah. What? That should be a 5,000. Katangids, yeah, I've gotten them before. Very ancient Australiform African type. Probably more widespread during the Paleolithic. I guess I should have gone closer. Where is this? It's the only way to get 5,000 is to go there. That's crazy. I guess it also is a little bit in central Congo. But yeah, that's how you play the game. You can recognize some of them, All right, chat, might need help on this next one. Oh my gosh, it's just all Africa, man. Can we go? Can we go some Europe, man? What can we do a little Europe? Just like these like Maasai or some of that kind of nonsense. What are we thinking? The future is brown. What are we thinking, Chad? Oh, it's obviously west, but are we talking like Kenya, Ethiopia, South Sudan? Kind of just tempted to go where all the countries meet, but I don't know. This next one better not be Africa, man. I'm sick of this. But I'm going to lock this in. All right. Omotic. Isolated type of southwestern Ethiopia and northern Kenya, probably belonging to a group of ancient Ethiopids, probably a relic of pre-Neolithic periods. Most common in speakers of the Omotic languages are Aribana, Hamerka, blah, blah, blah. The name derives from the Omo Valley of southern Ethiopia. All right, our first 5K. That's good. We're on the up and up. Next round. Oh. Now, I don't know about this. The noses have me a little sus. I mean, I think it's Europe, but the woman is also looking weird. What are we thinking? I said I wanted Europe, but I lied. People are saying these are Finns. The woman I can definitely see with Finland. That checks out. Would it be more southern Finland or more over here? It's just near Helsinki. Yeah, we'll go there. I think that's correct. Norid. Pretty much everywhere in Europe except Scandinavia and the Baltics. Central European type that closely resembles Dinarids, except for lighter pigmentation. Authors interpret this to be the result of Nordid and other admixture. Austria, Slovakia, southern eastern Germany. Not good. Not good. We failed the white man test on that one, gang. Okay, this is subcontinentalism. It's all right. We'll get them on this one. Some Sir Johnny nonsense here. But I don't know what part of it's across here somewhere. But I don't know. What are people's thoughts? Just smack dab in the middle of Jeet land? Is that where we go here? Is that the vibe? People saying guy looks Pakistani. You know, there are some lighter skinned people in Pakistan. Go up here. Probably going to hit that if nobody else. I think that seems to be the consensus. Boom. North Indid. Indid subtype. Pakistan. Northwest India. Yeah, gypsies, I guess. Good. Kashmir. Jammu and Kashmir. Hindu Kush. Okay. This is like some of this. Where's Alan? We need Alan. We need Porphyrios in this chat. Where are our Asian guys? I guess Alex will have to be the closest. He'll have to be our Asian guy in chat. Snow Asians. The question is this Mongolia, Manchuria, out here? What are we thinking? Nah, it's not a Kazakh. Definitely not Kazakhstan. Guy kind of looks like a land shark. Any thoughts? Any ideas, chat? We need the ideas. But is it in Mongolia? Is it in Russia? Is it in Inner Mongolia, which is all of this? Alaska. I don't know about Alaska. Maybe Russia, but I don't know. Could be though. Definitely could be. Northern China, I definitely see that. This feels correct to me. But I'm not seeing any hardcore confidence. But unless someone locks in on some real confident guessing, going to be locking in Northern China here. But I'll wait a few more seconds. All right, we're locking in. Alaska heads were right. Bering Sea people. Worst score of the day. My bad, gang. Western Esquimid variety. Common in Alaska and along the Bering Strait. Who said Alaska? Real John Connor, you were correct. I bow to you, sir. Not our best round, gang. Not our best round. Oh boy. Pretty sure I've had these ones before. Yes. We did it, Reddit. Mountain Melanesids. That's the most mountainous part of Papua New Guinea, one of the most densely forested mountainous parts of the world. Melanesian mountain variety, relatively ancient with similarities to Melanesids, found mainly among New Guinean highlanders like Dani, Moni, Akagi, Mobawamb. But yeah, we locked in. We are locked in indeed. Next round. 3 more left. Oh, what are we looking at here, man? Come on, man. Shit. What are we thinking here, man? Someone's gonna have to throw something out there because are these is this Southeast Asia? Is this Madagascar? Shoot, man, this might be some Madagascar shit, man. Some Antananarivo-ish, man. Shit. No thoughts. No thoughts on these curious characters. Indian Ocean Islands off Southeast Asia. They're not dark enough to be these characters. I don't think. So it's got to be over here if they're, I mean. Anyone besides Jonathan. We need to build consensus here. If I could consult the fathers on this, I would, but they have not written about this phenotype and where I can find it. So, well, speak of the devil. Just because we just were in Papua New Guinea, this is from Bellum Acta. Footage shows Indonesian federal troops landing at Karawai Airport, Boven Legal Regency in South Papua on February 11th. The operation focused on recovering the bodies of the pilot and co-pilot of a smart airplane who were killed earlier by West Papua National Liberation Army militants. The airplane had been shot at immediately after the landing. The pilot and co-pilot tried to escape into a nearby forest, but they were captured and killed on video by the militants who accused them of being Indonesian intelligence agents. So people forget that there is a war in New Guinea between Indonesia and Papuan liberation forces, with Indonesian forces, I think, somewhat invading certain Papuan territory, and with Papuan liberation forces fighting Indonesia on the Indonesian side of New Guinea. So, an oft forgotten war. That is actually quite interesting. Maybe we'll get an expert on to do an episode on it because I don't know enough about it to talk about it myself. But I'm probably gonna go with, I don't know, Madagascar kind of feels wrong at this point, so maybe South. Yeah, someone said South Sumatra. That sounds cool. Let's try that. It was just those are just Malaysians, but that got me closer. Semangit variety, a Paleolithic relic of the original Malaysian forest population, shows more Vedoid and Australoid features and is similar to Tapirid. Very rare with a few hundred individuals remaining. It's all these rare ones, man. They're always hitting us with these almost extinct phenotypes. So, can you really blame a brother? Can you really blame a brother? All right. I think two more, right? Yeah. Oh, we've had these before. Where are they? Someone's got to remember. Someone's got to remember. Real patriots, real Ethnoguesser patriots. Someone's got to remember. It's on the tip of my tongue, and I'm just not getting it. Also, not seeing any more super chats. So someone's got to lock in, and or if it's going to be an only Jonathan Kelly super chat day, that's embarrassing for the rest of the chat. If no one's ready to lock in on some supers, but man, I almost want to say this was also South Africa. Like I'm also sort of getting a yeah, this is an very Africa heavy episode. That's where I'm gonna throw it down right where I threw it there. If no one else comes up with anything, I fear it might also be up closer to Kenya or something. But yeah, it's really Africa guesser this evening. But I'm gonna wait for anyone to throw out any more concrete ideas. If anybody else has thoughts here on these individuals. $20 more from Jonathan Kelly. He just can't be stopped. Mr. Moneybags over here passing this on from Alex Soros. Jonathan Kelly is the Athonite patriotic Alex Soros. He is doing it. And finally, $5 from the real John Connor. Thank you, Jonathan. Of course, you're the hero of the stream, but someone else has finally stepped up for the rest of the chat. Dollar bill, y'all. $5. Thank you, sir. Great to see you this evening. But nobody is helping me on these characters. So it looks like we are really going to have to lock in South Africa on these interestingly round-headed African characters. So let's do it. I knew it. I knew it was up in Kenya and Tanzania. Ancient type of Tanzanian Bushmen. So bad. This is 2 sub 1,000 guesses this round. All right. Oh my gosh. Another extinct something. This has got to be like Australia. Right? Like, I don't know where else this would be besides Australia. Please discuss in chat. Tonga. People are saying these are Tongans. I don't think so. That's Fiji. I don't think so. I don't think these are no Tongans, man. I don't think these are New Caledonians either, but what do I know? Solomon Islands. I don't know. Anything besides Tonga. I don't know if it's Tonga. They just look a little too aboriginal. Peru. I don't know about that. I'm sure there's some resemblance, though. No meme. But I'm going to lock this Australia guess in here if nobody else chimes in. So 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Launch. Okay. South Australia. Top 15%. 1% less than last week. Not great, but again, we're still 15 and up. We've not really strayed below top 15%. So we're pretty good. We're pretty good, if I do say so myself. We're pretty decent. So could have been worse, could have been better. Good to end on a 5,000. Good to end on a 5K. Thank you, everybody, for super chatting. Of course, we'll be on for a few more minutes here. Send in a super chat if you have not already sent something on in. Got a bit of an update on, not really an update, just going to touch base on the Russia-Ukraine thing here. It's from Kyle Anzalone. It says Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said the control of the Donbass is the major sticking point preventing a deal to end the war with Russia. He claimed the Ukrainian people would not forgive him or the U.S. if they were forced to cede additional territory to Russia. Emotionally, people will never forgive this. Never. They will not forgive me. They will not forgive the U.S. Zelensky told Axios on Tuesday, Ukrainians can't understand why they would be asked to give up additional land. Zelensky made the remarks in response to U.S. mediators proposing that Ukraine withdraw from 10% of the Donbass it still controls. He added that ceding the region to Russia would be rejected by Ukrainians if put to a vote. Trump told reporters on Friday Russia wants to make a deal and Zelensky's going to have to get moving. Otherwise, he's going to miss a great opportunity. Axios asked the Ukrainian leader about President Donald Trump's recent remarks, placing pressure on Ukraine to make a deal. Zelensky responded that it was not fair that Trump was putting pressure on Ukraine, but he hoped it was just the president's tactics. The Ukrainian leader said there were other issues to be resolved before a deal is signed. Zelensky said Ukraine is requesting a 60-day ceasefire to hold elections, and Russia is offering a truce on election day. Zelensky said he may run for president in a future election. So, Zelensky might be running for another term in that election. He may not, so we don't really know the deal there. But we have another $5 from Jonathan Kelly for the missiles. Yes. The missiles, the money missiles, the bill missiles will be flying. Of course, look, and everyone knows that I pray for peace and I report on this stuff, and any joy I take in these events happening is simply due to a vindication of the saints of God. But as someone, I've loved analyzing military events since I was a little kid, it's gonna be kind of cool, okay? It's gonna be kind of cool. It's gonna go kind of hard. We're gonna see some new weapons. We're gonna see some combat, likes of which we've never seen. We're going to see airplanes, jets that we have not seen in this level of warfare utilized. We will see missiles. We might see some more hypersonics deployed outside of the Russia-Ukraine field. We might see some directed energy weapons. We might see some rail gun type, any type of crazy things that could be worked out here. This is where things might start to get actually utilized, and we might be even seeing obviously we're going to be seeing some very fascinating footage. So, obviously, no one wants war, but we're going to be honest and say that this is very much, it's going to be interesting times. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Feel free to send in any more final super chats. Obviously, check us out at the Substack, worldwarnow.co. You already know what it is. Check out the latest World War. Hold on. We don't need to be showing no notifications. Not that it really matters. But check out the latest World War Now episode, obviously really good stuff. Check out the Georgian monarchism episode with Levan. Check out the episode with Dr. Matthew Raphael Johnson and all of our other incredible Ether Hour episodes. All you have to do is go to the Ether Hour tab right here at worldwarnow.co and get access at this point 105 plus episodes, which are usually hour and a half, 2+ hours of incredible content. So be sure to check all of that out. Get behind the paywall. Support the show if you want to donate even further. Obviously, send in a super chat, but check out the Buy Me a Coffee at www.buymeacoffee.com/World War Now. It's a really good place to doing this. Someone saying they noticed the Orthodox prophets line up perfectly with the events of Revelation. Obviously, that is all true. However, we do believe that before there can even be, the events of Revelation or the Antichrist or anything like that, obviously the 7 golden lampstands, many have speculated that, the burning of Cyprus at the beginning of the 20th, not Cyprus, the burning of Smyrna at the beginning of the 20th century, was that final lampstand being removed. Metropolitan Elder Athanasios Milton Linnaeus talks about this. But of course, we know that Orthodoxy has to be preached around the world. Constantinople will be retaken by the Russians, and St. John Baptista still has to return, of course. So keep that in your prayers as well, obviously. But check out the Buy Me a Coffee. Check out the Substack. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Go on X. Find us there. Follow us at World War Now _ Great place to keep up with everything. Be sure to follow me at Gnome Rad. Really good stuff. I'm getting closer to 12,000 followers, so be sure to follow me on there. GNOMERAD. All sorts of good stuff on there. Obviously, be sure to follow the Telegram at World War Now Telly. Get on the Discord channel if you're not already there. We do voice chats there. I send voice memos. I post all sorts of other things. So check that out. Again, get behind the paywall at worldwarnow.co. You can find us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify if you search World War Now. So there's no excuse. You can be listening wherever this is to be found. Be sure to like all of these episodes. Be sure to share the show with your friends and family. I'll give it another minute or so for super chats, but I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Huge thank you, of course, to Jonathan Kelly for the massive super chat support this evening. He continues to be the number one World War Now patriot. But of course, huge thank you to the real John Connor for $5 as well. Every donation is appreciated in equal measure. So thank you all so much. Of course, we have to keep an eye on the media conglomerate stuff. Once if this all goes through, it's going to be like 4 Jews pretty much owning all the information that you will come across, including even on your phone online, trying to find independent sources. So thank you again all so much for tuning in. Hope you all enjoy your Wednesday evening. Hope you're enjoying your Cheese Fair week. Hope all of the Western people are enjoying Ash Wednesday. And I hope you're all preparing for a fruitful and ascetic Lent. So I'll go myself up to full screen here. So I thank everybody. It's been a good evening. It's been fun. Obviously, we're anxiously awaiting the tipping point, the time when even the normies will be forced to admit what has been in front of our eyes for a very long time, which is the ongoing Third World War. I would love to pick Metropolitan Neophytos' brain about this. Perhaps I'll try to get a line to him through Father Peter here in the next few weeks as these fateful events unfold. But once again, thank you to Jonathan Kelly. Thank you, Real John Connor. Thank you to everybody in the chat that has tuned in. And with all of that, we will see you on the next one, which I guess I might have to do a poll. I'll have to post a poll on the YouTube and on the Twitter and see when people want the evening to be, whether it's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, some other day. But we're going to have to get it figured out. Maybe I'll just do the stream whenever I want, but I want it to be at a consistent time. So that's when I want to do it. Let me know in the comments of this video, elsewhere on the Substack, elsewhere on the World War Now socials, what day you would like the stream to be. So on that note, thank you all so much for tuning in, and we will see you on the next one. God bless.